The Prince, a Croatian folktale collected by Mijat Stojanović in Srijemski Karlovci and published in Zagreb in 1867. An emperor had an only daughter. The father wished to keep his realm in the family through his daughter. The emperor declared that his daughter should marry some prince and put out the word across the world. The princess was not easy to please. As soon as word spread that the emperor sought a worthy son-in-law, princes, crown princes, and knights began arriving from all quarters. The court was ever full of guests and suitors. The emperor did not deliberate long, but embraced the first and best as his first fortune. Swiftly the wedding was arranged. The wedding day came, but the next morning the bridegroom was dead. The princess was grief-stricken. What had happened to the bridegroom? No one knew. Alive today, dead tomorrow. Alive today, black earth tomorrow. It is God's will. We the people did not kill him, they said. A second suitor prince came forward. He too died, and so it went with the 13th. A woman's head, when she marries 3 or 4 times, the world calls her a witch, let alone one whose husbands die in such a short time. The princess mourned and grieved, went to church and prayed to God. No more suitors came. No one wished to marry a woman whose husbands died. Unexpectedly, after a long time, a letter came to the emperor from a faraway prince. I come to you, honored emperor, as a son-in-law. Prepare the wedding. This prince was the only son of his father the king and his mother the queen. He wrote to the emperor that he would come and take his daughter to wife. His father the king and his mother the queen tried to dissuade their son. Let him not take the emperor's princess, whose bridegrooms had all died, for he too might lose his life. The prince said, the emperor's daughter appears to me in my dreams nearly every night. I rescue her now from beasts, now from a serpent, now from fire, now from beneath the sword, now from water. My heart draws me to help her. Perhaps God will grant that I deliver her from the reproach of being called a witch. Something compels me irresistibly to go and marry her. The king father and queen mother argued with their son, the prince, as much as they could, but he dreamed of the princess night after night. He saw her as if waking and delivered her from peril. The princess appeared to him beautiful beyond beauty, and she was indeed a beauty of the world, and wise and clever, of a kind one rarely finds. At last the parents relented and gave their son their blessing, and the prince set out at once. Alone, without escort, he mounted a fine horse and rode. His father the king told him at his departure, Son, if you will not take any of our courtiers with you, then hire yourself a servant on the road. But heed what I say. Hire a man who will not agree to sit at the same table and eat from the same dish as you. Be always merciful to all. Trust in God, He will help you. Do not seek trouble, but when trouble comes, do not shrink from it. The prince rode off. The first day he came to a town. There he would spend the night and hire himself a servant. Thus he planned. The prince stood at the window of the inn. Suddenly he heard a commotion in the street. He opened the window and looked out. A knacker was dragging a dead body like a carcass. The prince was moved to pity and cried, What is this, people, for God's sake? How can you stand by while a flayer drags a human body? The people answered, This dead man lived in the town on day wages. He has no one of his own, and he died in debt head over heels, and in a foul disease, may it not be mentioned. The knacker drags him out so he does not stink up the town. He deserved no better. He could not pay anyone anything anyway. Tears of pity ran down the prince's face. He quickly called the innkeeper, gave him a purse of ducats, and told him to arrange a proper burial for the dead man and pay off his debts. They bought a coffin, and the poor man was sung over and buried according to the rites. The prince asked the innkeeper to find him a reliable servant. He would pay well. At dinner, the innkeeper announced, "Sir, a young fellow has offered himself as your servant." "Bring him here," said the prince. The fellow came in. The prince asked, "Will you be my servant for good wages?" "I will, sir," said the fellow. No one knew that the prince was a prince. They called him sir and master. "Very well," said the prince. "Innkeeper, bring a plate, knife, and fork for him too, and this fellow shall dine with me, and then we shall be on our way. I have just bought a second horse for my servant." "Sir," said the servant, "I cannot sit beside you at the same table and eat from the same dish. We have not herded cattle together, nor tended swine." "Very well," said the prince, "then go and eat in the other room. But tell me one more thing. What wages do you seek each month while you serve me?" "Sir," said the servant, "I have heard that you are traveling to a far country, to a foreign land. On the road there will be all manner of things to make the skin crawl and the hair stand on end. But I will serve you, and not for any other wages than half the serpent's nest that you will receive there in the foreign land. I trust, sir, we shall fare well. God will help us." "Servant," said the prince, "I will give you plenty of treasure, silver and gold. You shall have enough for all your days. Only you must serve me faithfully, that I may get the business done." "Sir, fear not. God will help." Master and servant mounted their horses and rode on. They came to another town. There they heard they must pass through a great forest. From that forest, they said, it was hard to bring out a living head, save by traveling in daylight and in a large company. The travelers trusted in God's help and went on. In the great forest, night overtook them. "Sir," said the servant, "we had better not wander through the forest at night, stumbling from tree to stone. Better to light a fire beneath some good tree and pass the night. Night is the traveler's enemy. In the forest there are wolves and highwaymen, and we are honest travelers. You speak well, servant. I am weary and worn. I can hardly wait to rest. And yet it seems to me dangerous to sleep in the forest." "I will stand watch, sir," said the servant, "while you sleep a little. When sleep overpowers me, I will wake you." And so they did. The prince lay down and quickly fell asleep, and the servant stood watch with his master's saber. The watchman stood and looked about the forest, and saw a light far off in the trees. He covered his sleeping master with a bajkabanika, a magic cloak that he had. He knew that beneath that cloak nothing could harm his master. The servant went straight toward the light. When he reached it, a house in the forest, in thick undergrowth. In the house a candle was burning. 3 great bearded men sat at a table, smoking tobacco and drinking from large silver cups. The servant, bold as a fiend, knocked on the door and stepped in among the bearded men. "What have you come here for?" asked one of the beards. "I am a traveler from a far land. I do not know the road or the path. Please take me in for the night." "Gladly," said the beard. "Come, sit down, rest. Hey, Shoika," he called to a woman in the kitchen, "bring the traveler a dish, let him have his supper." Shoika brought a dish covered with a lid. The traveler lifted the lid. There was something to see. In the dish were 2 small pistols, cocked. "What is this?" asked the traveler. "That is your supper," said the beard. "That is how we treat our guests when they come to lodge with us." "If you are not joking," said the traveler, "then give me something to drink. Then do as you please." "Here," said the beard, "take the cup and drink." The traveler took the cup, and instead of drinking, he flung the wine into the bearded men's eyes. He quickly snatched the little pistols, and aiming both at once at two of the beards, fired. The beards collapsed dead under the table. He drew his saber and cut down the third, severing his head. Shoika, the woman, servant, whatever devil she was, surrendered the keys of the house to the traveler. He went through the house, room by room, and found an immense treasure. He gathered all the money and precious things into one room and locked it, then returned to his sleeping master. Dawn was breaking. The servant woke his master, and they rode on. The servant had brought the keys of that house with him. He told his master nothing. The second day, they lodged in an even thicker forest, in such tangled undergrowth that you could not pull a snake by the tail from the thorns and briars. The master lay down to sleep, and the servant stood watch with his saber, guarding his master. Around midnight, from many sides, horrible monsters attacked the servant: dragons, werewolves, dog-headed beasts, and all manner of frights. The prince slept sweetly. He heard nothing, and the servant swung the saber about him, cutting down the monsters, and drove them all away. The next day, early in the morning, they rode on. At last they reached the kingdom and the empire of the emperor, who had the beautiful daughter, for whose sake the prince had come. When the old emperor heard that a son-in-law was coming, he rejoiced and prayed to God that the sun might warm him once more. Young and old, great and small, came to see the arriving prince. The unhappy princess looked at him too and was glad, but her heart froze when she thought what might happen to him too. The prince pleased everyone. He was handsome, distinguished, fine, and noble. They did not deliberate long, but swiftly came ring and betrothal, songs and the bouclia, the ceremonial flask of wine shared at weddings, and then the wedding itself. Everyone feared that the prince would be alive and well at dusk, but dead by dawn. The wedding was as splendid as could be, feasting to the knees, food and drink aplenty, enough to stuff into your shirt, merriment to make your heart burst, everything in abundance, all beautiful and grand. The wedding guests tired of feasting and merrymaking. All was quiet in the emperor's palace, only the night watch was awake. The prince and the emperor's daughter had gone to bed. The prince's servant crept into the bedchamber like a ghost, unseen by anyone, and stood beside his master's bed. The newlyweds slept sweetly. In the middle of the night, the princess began to stir in her bed, sighing and shuddering. The servant watched. The princess lay on her back, her mouth open wide. From her mouth a serpent's head emerged, and slowly a great hideous serpent crawled out and moved toward the prince's throat as if to strangle him. The servant sprang forward, seized the serpent with his bare hand, crushed its head, and threw it dead beneath the bed. The servant left the bedchamber and acted as if nothing had happened, as if he knew nothing. The next day, when the emperor saw that the bridegroom was alive and well, he rejoiced greatly, and now at last they celebrated the wedding properly, in the old way, so that your heart leapt for joy like a kid on a barrel.
Then the servant spoke to his master. "Here, sir, are the keys to that house in the forest where you will find an immense treasure. I can serve you no longer. Give me my promised wages, half the serpent's nest that you have received." "And what is this, half a serpent's nest?" asked the prince. "Come," said the servant, "into the room where you slept, and you will see my night's catch." Everyone was astonished at what the servant said, and they followed him to see what was what. The servant pulled the dead serpent from beneath the bed and told them whence it had crawled and how he had killed it. Then he quickly drew the saber from his belt upon the princess. The princess was terrified. She flinched from the saber and began to retch from fright. She cast from her body 3 serpent's eggs. When the servant saw this, he threw the saber from his hand, stamped upon the serpent's eggs, and saw that in each was a living young serpent. The servant killed the young serpents. Now I am done, sir, my king. Your lady the queen is freed from the dreadful curse. You have the keys to the treasure in the forest. Now you are a fortunate man. You no longer need me. I have done what I could for you. You redeemed my dead body from the hands of the knacker in that town, where you paid for a poor man's burial. I am the soul of that day laborer. I have repaid my debt as best I could." He spoke these words and vanished. The prince went afterwards to that house in the forest and found treasure beyond counting, and began to settle villages and towns in that forest. Now there is little scrub there. It has all been cleared and settled. That was the tale of The Prince. If you enjoyed it, the full collection, Mijat Stojanović's Folk Tales, is available in print. Subscribe for more Croatian and South Slavic tales, and I will see you at the next bedside.